It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, September 9th. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that's talking rookie camp roster.
All right, let's do it.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, it feels good to have a Tuesday episode again, back to 5 days a week. We're getting super close. And we know that because we finally got the rookie camp roster and schedule from the Flyers. Before we dig into that, just a reminder of our weekly off-season poll question of the week related to the topic on yesterday's show, which was the Flyers power play. And is this finally the year? So our poll question is, of course, related to that. We want to know what you think. The link to that is in the show notes. It's on our YouTube channel. Make sure you get your vote in here. Going to be a doozy of a conversation wrapping that one up on the Friday show for sure.
Yeah, it'll be lengthy.
Yes, of course. Now, the Flyers did yesterday release the roster and schedule for rookie camp. The first on-ice session for the kids will be Thursday at 11 a.m. over in Voorhees. Really excited. Both of us should be there that day, and we'll give you a firsthand report for our Friday show in addition to wrapping up the poll results. And I'm excited to see some of these kids in action for the first time. We saw some of them at Dev Camp.
We did.
Of course, but there's going to be some different combinations, and there's, some guys that weren't able to skate at the Dev Camp that we're hoping will be able to skate. We don't have, as of recording, exact information on any injuries, and I'm sure they won't tell us until Wednesday or Thursday because they won't know either, to be honest. When everybody's there, but really excited to get going here.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think this is a good thing. I can tell you both fan bases are looking forward to it. I was just on a Ranger show and they're looking forward
for the rookie series.
Rookie series. And it's just, it's like, obviously it goes on around the league, but it's a big deal now. This is something that has sort of developed over the last 10, 15 years. And I like it. It's better than just having guys come in and just play a scrimmage against each other.
Right. And I think, there's some other tournaments out there and we could talk about those, but some of them have like slightly different rules or they're like 3-on-3 or something like that. And this is just a straight up thing that the Flyers and Rangers have developed over these years. And it's always exciting to see that, and it's become a little bit of a rivalry, I would say, between the prospects, and the guys get amped up for it.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, these are two teams that in the regular season don't like each other, and most of the times don't like each other, but management understands it's a necessary evil, and I think it's great that both sides want to do it.
Yeah, I do too. And now looking at the roster that the Flyers have reported for rookie camp, I think obviously we're excited to see Denver Barkey.
Right.
I think he's like one of the top names of the forwards that are on the list for sure.
Yeah, no question. It's happy to see him. I'm sort of looking at Jett Luchanko. Like, is Jett Luchanko going to take part in this? If I get a Tuesday night message that he's not, I'm not going to be shocked. So when he's on the ice, then I'll say something about it.
Right. And we'll see. But it's the other thing, especially with the forwards, I would say it's always interesting to see like who has a quote unquote NHL number and who has a rookie camp number here. I mean, some guys have like their higher numbers that they like, right? And they just take.
And they just take those, and that's fine. Yeah, I agree.
Right. But, Carson Dewart has his number 23 from last year. Alex Bump has number 20 as opposed to, a 50s or 60s number, I would say. And Devin Kaplan has his number that he had from his one game last year with 12. Jett Luchanko is 17, of course.
Yeah.
But, it's always interesting.
No, there's little things you pick up on, and one thing is like the most games played on this is Samu Tuamala. It almost feels like he's being left back. Like that's the feeling you get. Like he's sort of got to redo his one of his years in school. Like he failed something and he's got to do it again. That's the feeling I get.
Well, that's interesting because it's one of the subjects we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we kind of dug into what we were looking forward to with rookie camp. And both of us, I believe, indicated that we didn't think he would be there because he had sort of graduated beyond that.
He's
But
played
he was
115 games.
Yeah. And so I think it's a surprise, but it's also a message in a lot of ways, right?
It's a message. It's like, you better look good against these guys because if you don't, we have questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this will be good for our chances to see Tucker Robertson, the newly acquired in exchange for J.R. Avon. So this will be our first chance to see him in person.
Yeah, there was a funny Twitter post for when Robertson became a Flyer. Steve Dangle put that Robertson was traded because they're wondering about Nick Robertson in Toronto, and it was kind of funny. I got a laugh out of that. Yeah, we'll see how he plays. It'll be fun. I think it's a good chance for him to introduce himself to the base.
Yeah, and I'm also really excited to see Nikita Grabenkin come back.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've kind of gone back and forth with him in some ways in terms of where his potential lies. And, I think a lot of people think he has a legit shot to make the Flyers at some point during this season. We're a little skeptical of that just because of the depth and where he is in the pecking order. But he got number 29 here. He got that NHL number for rookie camp.
He did.
So we'll see.
I think that's more for his sake because, again, when he became a Flyer, I think he thought he was going to be a Flyer right away, and that did not occur. And I think that was a little shot to his ego. So I think this is to kind of help him out that way and see if they could spark him. But, again, he just may not be ready. I know people like the things he does on the ice, but he just may not be ready. Like that just may be a reality. He's only played a handful of NHL games. Was it 7? So
yeah. So we'll see, but I think he'll provide a spark because we know he does that.
He better,
right?
that's why he's there.
Personality, and he shows it on the ice, and so I think he'll be one of those guys that pushes the other forwards here at camp.
Yeah, just as an example, if Devin Kaplan looks better than Nikita Gabenkin, he'll be in trouble. Because then, Kaplan could leapfrog him.
Yeah.
So Gabenkin's got to really show off here.
It's entirely possible. Now, as we know, all the college guys can't play in rookie camp. It's only people who are in junior hockey. And with the changes in the way that guys are choosing their development path, it does change the nature of rookie camp a little bit. So the only kind of new draft pick of note is Jack Nesbitt. Matthew Guard is going to be there as well on the forward side of things. But there's fewer guys there than would have been there in the past.
Yeah, no question. But that's okay. It gives more focus for those guys. I'm happy to see Guard and Nesbitt to see.
And Nathan Quinn. But,
see on a lesser scale see, where they're at in their development. And that'll be good to see. Guard's an interesting one because we'll see if he can shut down, some of the Rangers prospects, because I think that's one of his benefits. And so, and with, Nesbitt, I know people are going to be looking for some flash, and I'm sure there'll be some, but again, he's young, so we'll see.
Yeah, and with Nesbitt, I'm actually really curious because we'll get to the goaltending part of the conversation later. But, he's got a teammate from Windsor that is joining at camp, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But I think Nesbitt might have some insight into that aspect of it as well. And I think for the forwards, it's a really interesting group. And I can't even imagine how these lines are going to shake out for the rookie series.
I don't know.
I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter, but at the
Right.
same time, I'm just like looking at this group, like who do you put together? I think it's going to be a really interesting task for John Snowden.
Yeah, I think it will be an interesting task. I mean, I think you you probably, if you have two or three of them that you think have a chance to make the NHL roster, then you should put them together and
Yeah.
see how that does against the Rangers guys, because might be a good indicator, like, are they ready for that next step? So yeah, I think those kinds of things will happen. And the good thing is you play these games and then they still have camp after, so they can kind of go over things before big camp opens. So I think that's also an opportunity to learn something.
Yeah, and I certainly would love to see Jett Luchanko out there with Denver Barkey. Like, I think
Sure.
that would be a really good option to start with. But again, there's a couple of games, so they have chances to mix and match it up.
They do.
We also have some blue liners to talk about, and we're going to do that and talk about the goaltending coming up next.
The NFL season's finally here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for the kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in as a live action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. I'm still going to go with the Baltimore Ravens.
Even though they lost to the Bills?
Especially because the way they lost to the Bills, because the Bills had to pull it out of the fire, and
Nah, that's true.
that just shows how good the Ravens really are, and I think that's a testament to them too. So it's the way it goes. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
All right. On tomorrow's show, we will, of course, have your mailbag questions. Make sure you get those in. You can email us at lockdownflyers@gmail.com, send us a message on any of our socials, or comment on our YouTube channel. Now, looking at the blue liners here, that's where we have one of only two camp invites here. And again, I think just because of the changing nature of the development paths and a lot more guys going to college, like there isn't really as big of an opportunity for guys to get invited who are playing in junior hockey here, right?
No, there's not much, and I think this is like the humane thing to do, is just kind of have the guys you really just want to see almost, and this way you can mess with the pairings for both games. And listen, John Snowden's going to mess with pairings that will definitely be a prelude to what he'll be doing this season. So I think it would help him a lot, and I think the fewer guys, the better in this regard.
Right. So we have Andre Mundo from Kingston in the OHL who was invited here. And he actually got sort of a promotion contract in junior hockey last year from the second
Right.
tier league in Ontario up to the OHL. So, it's always good to give guys
Give it a
like this
shot.
a look. It
Sure.
doesn't matter, and add to the numbers that you have here, to your point of the options of
Right.
mixing and matching the pairings. But I think, the big names here on the blue line side of things are Oliver Bonk, Hunter McDonald, and Spencer Gill, right?
Yeah, no question about it. I think those are the big names. I know people are liking the hype around Gill, and I say yes, it's nice, but just slow your roll on that. Bunk's certainly the guy who's most advanced of the group, so he's the one that really is going to have a lot of the pressure on him to perform, because if he doesn't do great in this, he's really not going to get a long look for the NHL, and he still might not. And Hunter McDonald, like, it's not his fault, but he's been hyped up a lot, and really he is developing, but he's going to develop at his pace, not at the pace of the hype.
Right. And I think he's going to have a lot of responsibility at the rookie
Yes,
series,
he will.
because I think that, as we have seen in past years, the New York Rangers rookies come with an edge to them.
They do.
Every single time. It's absolutely wild to me, because it's like, this is the rookie series. We don't want anybody getting hurt. And yet somehow things go off the rails a little bit. And I think Hunter McDonald is going to play a big role in trying to tamper that down.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, they may ask him to shut down Gabe Perreault. Like, that's somebody who played in the NHL last year for a handful of games. It's reasonable to think that. So, yeah, that will be his responsibility probably.
Right. And I think, how Oliver Bonk can adjust to the changing speed and to play up
Right.
against some of these top prospects that the Rangers have, to your point, I think is going to be really important to see. And it will be a good benchmark for his development.
It
And
will.
and we'll say, okay, here's what he looks like now. And then 6 months from now, we can see how he's playing in the AHL and really see where his development has gone.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers have some guys that have played a couple of years in the AHL, so that's something where that will help Bonk. That's a good measuring stick for him.
Yeah, and your point about Spencer Gill is a good one. There has been a lot of recent hype around him based on his performances since he's come back from the injury that he had and missed a lot of the tail end of last
Yeah,
season. So we've kind of been in the dark about what his game looks like, and
correct.
now like this is kind of where the rubber meets the road for him as far as again also setting that benchmark and setting his goals for this upcoming season and where he thinks he's going to net out, because I think there's a lot of potential, but playing in the queue as a defenseman, like that's a tough development path.
It is. It's a tough development path, and so yeah, this will be a nice test for him. I think it's a good test for Ethan Sampson. Ty
Yeah.
Murchison, we'll see where he's at. Austin Mullins, again, a guy who doesn't get talked about a lot. He's a 7th-round pick, so I get it. But I do think there's a little something there, and we've always said he's on a long development path, and he's going back to the USHL, so he's going to go right from here to the Fall Classic like me. But that's good for him. This is a good tune-up before the Fall Classic to kind of see where his game is at. Then when he goes to Madison, they'll give him his marching orders, and this is good. This is, I'm going to watch him because I think he's a pretty level-headed guy with some abilities.
Yeah, and I think he knows the opportunity that he has.
He
And I
does.
think him playing in the Fall Classic is a really, really good thing for
Yeah.
him in terms of, again, just a kind of level setting where his game is and what he needs to do to take that next step to maybe join the Phantoms next year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the goal. I'm happy to see Luke Vucic, if I forget how to pronounce his last name, but
Luswick.
Brucewick. Really, I didn't see that much video on him, and again, nobody goes out to Red Deer, so that's part of it. But the other part is he was a really engaging guy at the draft. So now I want to see, I know the mental side of this guy. Now I want to see it all match up.
Yeah, and I thought he showed out pretty well at development camp as
Yes.
well. I thought he had some
there were
really
some
good moments there.
Yes, he had some moments, and so this will be good. Let's see what you got, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, turning our attention to the goaltending situation, as we are wont to do on this show, and we talked a lot about the goaltending last week as well, at the NHL level and what the rotation was going to be, and we did lament the lack of depth in the prospect goalie market here, and as we know, Carson Bjarnason is pretty much it right
That's it.
now, as far as like who's in North America right now. In
Right.
the system. And so they've constantly had to put out camp invites to have even 2 goaltenders at, development camp and at rookie camp. And, we saw like 3 guys get invited to development camp, none of whom were invited back. Now we have Joey Costanzo, the Windsor Spitfire goaltender that I alluded to, Jack Nesbitt's teammate here, getting an amateur tryout here. And he's kind of a typical OHL goaltender, doesn't have the greatest save percentage out there, doesn't have the greatest goals against average, but this is an opportunity for him to get a look and maybe get a shot at continuing to play toward the NHL here. But, I think it does, again, speak to the lack of depth and makes us question why they didn't pick a goalie in the draft.
It continues with that. I mean, it's definitely a sore spot. It's definitely something where even if you're the rosiest of fans, you realize when you're watching this game that you got one goalie here, one goalie in Russia. That's what you got. Not a lot else. And they need more. You always have to have a bunch of goalies ready to go because you never know what the circumstances are going to be. And yes, should Alexei Kolosov be playing in this game? Yes, he should, because next year he's still Calder eligible. He didn't even play 25 games. So the fact that he is not here, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear he couldn't get a visa. I don't want to hear anything. He should be playing in this game. I'm sorry. That's just my personal feeling.
Yeah, I think that is, we also kind of went back and forth on whether or not he, in theory, should be part of this. And I think based on the number of NHL games he got, and whatever handshake deal they have with him, he's not at rookie camp and he'll show up at regular training camp. But sure would have been nice to have him available to
Yep.
help support this group, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. Anyhow, we've made our positions known here.
Yes, we have. Now, you mentioned the goalie in Russia, who is Yegor Zavragin, and there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of hype around him, and we just kind of wanted to, because he's not here and he is that other goaltender besides
Right.
Carson Bjarnason, who's younger and in the system like this. We do want to talk about him, and we are going to do that coming up next. All right, so Yegor Zavragin, as we know, is under a KHL contract with St. Petersburg through 26-27. So he's got this upcoming season and the season after it. We know, obviously, as we found out with Matvei Michkov, things could change, and he's had a similar situation where he's under contract with St. Petersburg, but has been loaned out to Sochi. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of parallels there. So
Oh, yeah.
things can always change, but when you look at the big picture, and Bleacher Report recently did a goalie rankings of tandems, right, and put the
Right.
Flyers at 31st overall. Only the Sharks were worse, and honestly, that checks out.
Yeah, that's earned.
Yeah, so we want to talk about Zavragin as he's not the savior here, but there
Definitely
is
not.
a lot of potential, and we want to recognize that both things can be true at the same time. He only has 43 games played total in the KHL so far, but he is also 19. So,
Well, he's 20 now.
or 20. Sorry. He was 19 the last time I looked at
Yeah,
his
yeah.
age, but yeah, birthdays are a thing. But I think, he's still very, very young. And so he does have a lot of time here.
Time is on his side. Contract is still till 26-27. To be honest, I think he needs more time there. He hasn't played enough there. I
Correct.
watched a lot of video. I also went back and looked at Andrei Vasilevsky's stats just to kind of remind myself what I'm seeing, what I've seen. And so
Sure.
Vasilevsky was getting save percentages of 943, 935 in the playoffs in the KHL. Last year, Zavragin didn't even get close to that. So he's not ready. I watched video. If he sees the shot, he's going to stop it. He's very athletic. He's really, really
Right.
good. But I did notice he's got a little bit of a weakness from long shots. And when things break down, that's when he's got some trouble. And to be honest, if he were to come over early, things will break down in front of him a lot. And that's not good for development. So to be honest, if he plays out his contract in the KHL, I'm fine with that. If you asked me today, Russ, in the summer, what is your goalie plan? My plan is to find a goalie who could play for the Flyers for the next 2 years, and then I'll worry about where he's at and what his development looks like and if he's ready. So if it's nobody that they have, and one of them that they have currently will be a backup, then they need to get a 2-year goalie. And I don't see how they don't look at that unless he's the best goalie in the KHL this year. That may be the only way to change this my narrative.
Right. And I also think there's a danger to that, right?
Yeah.
If he is the best goalie in the KHL for some inexplicable reason here, I still think it would be fluky and you shouldn't bring him over. I think you
That's
need to
fair
see
too.
I think you would need to see that for 2 years in a row over there before I'd be like, oh, okay, he really is there.
Yeah.
Right. Because, as we know with goaltenders, anything can happen in a single season. We've seen it time and time again. And, you look at kind of the goalie prospect rankings out there, and they all pretty much have the same answer on him. Daily Faceoff ranked him 18th. Scott Wheeler over at The Athletic ranked him 17th. Elite Prospects, he didn't even make the top 20. So, and it's because he's young. It's not because he's not good. I just want to
Right.
make that clear.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of age, and he's playing in a great pro league, and he's not quite there. And that's the thing with goalies. We don't know what the year is that it's going to all kick in, but I see some of it kicking in. I do. And that's why I think he's a 1A for sure.
Right.
He's got the ability to be a 1, but I can't say for sure now that he's the answer because I'm seeing headlines. Is he the, asking the question, is he the answer? As of today, he is not the answer. We don't know if he's the answer. And an organization can't hope that he's the answer, because if they hope he's the answer and he comes over and he's not the answer and you didn't draft a goalie last year, then you need to go out and get a goalie for now, probably for a 4-year contract. And that changes a lot.
Right. And then you're dependent on the free agent market, which
Correct.
is always a crapshoot, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can go back to all of the years that the Flyers did that for many, many years. And very rarely did they catch lightning in a bottle that way.
Yeah, it is interesting because you look at what Zavragin was able to do this past season, especially, he went back down to the MHL for their playoffs
He did, which is
when,
good.
yeah, because, it's better to play than not to play. And
Right.
you can see he's outgrown that league.
Yeah, no question about that.
But we just don't know where he is KHL wise yet.
Right.
And that's why he needs this 2-year development path that we've talked about. And I think when you look at Ivan Fedotov, now I know he has a different circumstance lately because of the year off and whatnot, but you look at Alexei Kolosov as well. And I think one of the things that they had in common is how flaily they were.
Yeah.
And how out of control they got if they couldn't see where
in their
the puck
movements,
was.
you mean?
In their movements. Yeah. Like when they had some trouble tracking the puck because of traffic in front of them, their movement was a little bit wild, and to say the least, and especially with Fedotov. And I think that, one of the more interesting notes that I saw on Scott Wheeler's scouting report on him was that he says where most young goalies who move to pucks can lose their post and pull themselves out of position, he has good control of his game and a willingness to battle when he does get scrambled. Great hands and reflexes. So
yeah, that's all true.
All of that is true. But I think that is the one kind of major ding that we had on Fedotov and to a slightly lesser extent Kolosov. And so what I want to see from Zavragin is the ability to control that, right? And to be able to battle, but battle in a calm way.
And we don't know what's going to happen when he comes here, and the rink is different, and the angles are different.
The shots are faster. The skaters are faster.
All of that kind of changes, But the big thing is, we heard a fair amount of hype with Kolosov. Oh, he's good. He's really good. Oh, he could really play. And I watched a little video on him, and I was like, okay, let's see what he's got. Well, last year he wasn't very good. He had a couple of good moments, but he wasn't very good. He had 867 save percentage. So at the end of the day, that tells me he wasn't very good. So you have to temper it. And that's why you can't just bank on him. He's not bankable right now. Not yet.
No, he's not. And we just have to be realistic about it and make sure there's a contingency plan in place with the Flyers in order to have the goaltending longevity that we need and the depth down the road, so that if Sam Ersson doesn't pan out, if Dan Vladar decides maybe I don't want to stay here, or he's not as good as what the Flyers need and he can't be a number one, right? And then neither, I assume based on this conversation we're having now, we're assuming that Kolosov or Fedotov will be gone after next season.
Right.
If the other one isn't it either, where are we? Right. And so I don't want to be banking on Zavragin here because it's unfair to put that kind of pressure on him in the first place. But B, we've seen based on Kolosov and Fedotov, that it's a high risk situation.
Yeah. I mean, not every Russian goalie is great. Everybody wants to go to, and talk about Sorokin, or they want to talk about Shesterkin. And there's a lot of guys in between. And there's some really good ones and there's some okay ones. They all can play in the NHL to some degree. That's true. But, they have to really get one that they could feel good about for a lot of years. All I could say is if I see a lot of reports from these prospect games and Ravensburgen or a couple of those Russians look really good, of which one of them they could have gotten for sure, I might just chime in on it, Rachel. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting to watch, but we will certainly be tracking Yegor Zavragin's season this upcoming year, see how he's doing, see if he gets loaned out or not, and if he stays with the big club or not. I think that will be a key indicator as well. But, there's more pressure with that and better skaters that he's going to face. So real interesting stuff on this front for the Philadelphia Flyers. That will do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest with the Flyers heading into rookie camp. Plus, we will have your mailbag questions, as I said. So let us know what those are. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail, message us on any of our socials at lockedonflyers, or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no off season. We bring you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. I'm on the Friday show. We're going to be previewing all of the rookie tournaments around the league. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.